Now she's teasing a big announcement that she claims will result in some of her opponents being arrested and charged.
A Dolton home that she leased to Mayor Tiffany Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says Henyard has not paid her rent, and now she wants...
Let's begin then. Tiffany Henyard of Dolton, the so-called super mayor of Illinois, has been involved in what seems like an unending series of scandals. Due to unexpected developments, corruption charges, and a new FBI action, it seems as though her days of making audacious and defiant public appearances may be coming to an end.
South suburban politician Tiffany Henyard appears to have lost control of both governments.
The issue is that Tiffany Henyard was a trailblazer who was the first Black woman to serve as mayor of Dolton. People were ecstatic when she gained office in 2021 because she promised to focus on economic growth in order to rebuild the little Illinois town. The kinds of adjustments and neighborhood projects that are desperately needed. But if you fast forward to the present, it seems that her once bright image has completely vanished. Instead of being characterized by achievements, her government has been rocked by allegations of financial mismanagement, extravagant spending, and an overwhelming amount of litigation.
All this point the finger to Tiffany or allow me, I'm over it. Now it's time for me.
The trustees of Dolton's Village hired former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot to investigate the situation. And in one of the most shocking recent revelations, she exposed what she described as heinous financial mismanagement of village funds. To give you an indication of the scope, when Lightfoot came, she presented her results to the public, leaving the audience in disbelief. There was $561 million in Dolton's general fund at the start of 2022. However, that balance fell to a $360 million deficit by May 2024. This in and of itself would raise concerns. But as the Lightfoot's investigation uncovered even more ostentatious spending on dining, shopping, upscale hotels, and national travel, Dolton residents started to wonder if their taxes were being used as Henyard's personal piggy bank.
It's a power grab. That's it. Power and money grab.
When Lightfoot revealed the invoices proving that he had spent thousands of dollars on Amazon for a single transaction, there were gasps and a noticeable sense of uneasiness in the room the day he broke the news. For $43,000 in one day, and that was just the beginning. Among other costly charges, a number of transactions were made during the day, including one for $4,700, another for $5,600, and others on Wayfair, including over $8,000 for something she sold to the village. Let's just say that the luxury goods sold by Amazon Target didn't exactly portray wise leadership.
Talked to Tiffany Henyard's landlord, and she says she came to this Thornton Township meeting Tuesday night, hoping to get paid what she says she's owed.
Dolton's village trustees were furious. One, Kay Belcher, described it as a slap in the face to all Dolton residents. A member, Tammy Brown, warned Belcher was not the only one annoyed, that a clean house by early 2025 is required, and that the trustees are not the only ones who are worn out. Given how many Dolton people are suffering, people like Andrea McKay are devastated. McKay went on to say that their mayor was allegedly wasting money and that she was heartbroken that Henyard had come to town and used all of our tax dollars for necessities.
Henyard's landlord showed up here to see her tenant in person after she says Henyard has been dodging both her and rent payments for months.
How did Henyard respond when she accused Dolton? She seemed almost annoyed by the resistance she was getting. Did she try to explain her stance or offer an apology? She made a triumphant comeback, reminding her critics that she is the head of one public event. Claiming that her critics were only providing, showing themselves, and should follow her, she rationalized her expenses as if they were for the public good, accusing trustees of doing nothing more than talking points. But she went a step farther and accused her critics of being conceited by utilizing the race card. Ought to feel ashamed for attacking a strong Black woman. Henyard seems to be taking the stance that this is all some sort of targeted attack rather than addressing real concerns. Behavior.
I will be seeking arrest for individuals involved. I will be pressing charges.
With slogans like keeping my promises and fighting for my residents, The so-called super mayor has been plastered on massive billboards all over the town, but the locals aren't buying it. Her reputation in the community is also suffering as a result of these billboards that display her beef face. Some have compared the pictures to anything from a dictatorship, saying they remind them of presidents and some authoritarian governments. Regimes, as one resident put it, it's like a dictator. There is no call for it. That perfectly captures the community's reaction. It's a challenging picture to remove, especially considering the hamlet's severe debt.
Here because I'm at wit's end and I fear that I'm going to go into foreclosure soon if I can't get this matter.
In order to protect her, Henyard has even hired local police officers, which is a cost that her family does not approve of. According to reports, she has a whole detail assigned to her, and these officers work extra hours just to protect her. At her numerous events and celebrations, some officers have allegedly been made to spend more than 100 hours during a pay period, escorting Henyard to meetings and social functions. Dolton trustee Brittany Norwood was right when she said that it's less about protecting the mayor and more about assigning police to her personal use, which makes the area feel less safe and strains the village's finances more.
Township tonight as another board meeting got canceled because of a lack of a quorum.
And that came after a disagreement about where to hold the meeting as trustees expressed concerns for their safety.
In addition to travel expenses and private security data, Henyard expenditure, more controversial spending, has been revealed by recent documents, including costly billboard advertising and a rumored $85,000 Valentine's Day event that the EV event has been slammed as yet another waste of taxpayer funds, pointing out that the funds should have been utilized to better the town. It featured high-end decor, well-known acts, and personal branding that prominently showcased Henyard herself. Instead of funding these extravagant celebrations, the community has responded adversely, with residents claiming that the costs are not in keeping with Dolton's goals and requirements.
Township tonight as another board meeting got canceled because of a lack of a quorum.
And that came after a disagreement about where to hold the meeting as trustees expressed concerns for their safety.
Henyard has a habit of organizing events that highlight her status rather than the community's achievements, which adds to her scandalous record. One such event seemed to be a community event that centered on her reputation, included her showing up in a convoluted outfit reminiscent of the film Gangster, complete with cueing music, leaving many audience members baffled by this spectacle-based approach to public service where Henyard appears to. Her public persona has taken precedence over crucial policy, which has greatly irritated the residents, who see these actions as more proof of her detachment from the struggles faced by the average Dolton resident.
In a month, a Thornton Township board meeting was canceled, this time because Supervisor Tiffany Henyard and a trustee couldn't agree on where to have the meeting.
Despite Henyard's efforts to present these events as community-inspiring and community-involving endeavors, her detractors argue that they are simply an attempt to boost her own brand. It was placed by Dolton trustee Jason House. Simply stated, these are just a distraction from the real issues we are facing, which include resource shortages, underpaid suppliers, and budget deficits. His remarks mirrored a growing belief among residents that the Henyard celebrity-style strategy to having such blatant opposition has caused chaos rather than stability in governing. Henyard's efforts to establish herself as the community's voice are eroding quickly.
It's her fault. It's her problem, her responsibility, and she failed. She's failed everybody.
There's also the tale of Hall, her landlord, who is fighting to get her to leave. Edge claims that even though Henyard and her partner make a lot of money, they stopped paying rent months ago. As Thornton Township's mayor and supervisor, Henyard makes about $300,000 a year. But Hull says they haven't paid rent since August. She was obliged to petition for eviction in September after Paul even alleged that Henyard had changed the locks to keep her from visiting her own property. The perception of Henyard as a public figure who has lost touch with the reality that most of her people live in is only heightened by her personal problems in a financially troubled town. She feels hopeless and has nowhere else to turn, Paul said bluntly. The public can clearly see the irony of Dolton's top leader being facing eviction while under federal investigation for allegedly wasting public funds, which further undermines any trust the community may still have in her.
The sheriff's been out here a few times to serve them. For a household that makes, over $350,000 a year.
In addition to this, Howard She has been known to publicly threaten her critics, even hinting that they would face prosecution. Her behavior toward them has been horrifying. She stated she will seek arrest for her political competitors who she feels are involved in a power and money grab while speaking directly to the camera during a Facebook Live broadcast. She did not, however, elaborate on the specific crimes her opponents may have committed. Have made or believe that arrests are necessary, it's a tactic that more and more resembles a leader using her position to silence critics rather than facing the serious charges against her.
Getting to be redundant, and we're getting tired of coming here, not having the laws followed, not having a meeting.
It's also important to consider her other identity politics defensive tactic. Henyard has been vocal about how she believes her detractors are sneering at her because she is a black woman in a leadership role. Her use of statements like "it's me today, it's you tomorrow" to position herself as a voice for marginalized groups that face unjust criticism hasn't been very successful, especially in the community. The FBI's involvement has raised the stakes even further, and many are predicting that Henyard's controversial run may eventually come to an end due to a government inquiry. Her attempts to mobilize support by claiming discrimination are seen by members who are tired of what they see as a diversion from the actual problems at hand, as more about deflecting attention from her alleged wrongdoing than about true prejudice. And not only the residents of Dolton are happy to see justice served, the community as a whole has been negatively affected by the financial issues her leadership is alleged to have brought about. It is evident that public opinion has changed because the audience reportedly made fun of Henyard for being late to a town hall meeting. Her previously loyal fans appear to have had enough and are now desperately attempting to keep up the little support she still has.
Right now, it appears that they're going to try to have a meeting upstairs. It is not safe up there.
As a result, we are seeing a political career that seemed bright at one point, but is now coming to an end, with lawsuits, charges, and scandals building up like a set of dominoes. A major development in the FBI inquiry suggests that these might be Henyard's final days in office, and while she continues to, she oozes confidence as if she's untouchable, but it's difficult to see how she can sustain this stubborn position for much longer given her town's deteriorating finances, unpaid vendors, and outraged citizens. Do you believe that this is her last moment? Will she be able to keep her seat, Tiffany Henyard? Will Dolton benefit from new leadership given all the turmoil around her? In addition to remembering to subscribe for future updates on this evolving narrative, kindly leave your thoughts in the comments section below.